It's a thrilling Thursday. Hopefully, it's a tantalizing Thursday because I'll tell you what, Australia, South Africa never disappoints us in World Cups. We think about 99 automatically. Hopefully, we get that in match number 10 today, right from the Ekana Stadium in Lucknow. My name's Avni Shekdi. As you can see, the energy is brought forward. And Somesh Agarwal and Nikhil Popat. Som, good to see you. And good to see you eat your oats really quickly to start this preview. How's it going?
Yeah, need some energy for this big game. Australia, South Africa is always a big game in World Cups, and thankfully, uh, South Africa cricket for the past year or so have been very competitive. So really looking forward to this game.
Nikhil, do you echo those thoughts? Australia, South Africa just is a sexy fixture, man.
They've always been, green and yellow. 2019, that loss cost Australia a lot. Almost cost them a place in the semis. Though almost definitely cost them a place. Though lots riding there. No Faf, no Tahir. But I'm just hoping that new heroes step up today for South Africa so that we have a great game. And one more in the box that Som wants to think about: how many good ODI games we'll see in this World Cup.
Indeed, I mentioned the 99 game, but the 2019 game, like you mentioned, Knicks, was also, 315, 325, roughly in my head in Old Trafford, Manchester. And hopefully we can get a cracking game in the Ekana today. And like you guys said, we're moments away from the toss, so we'll, of course, bring that for you. But first and foremost, as always, all you lovely people, like this particular video and subscribe if you guys are new. And, of course, we'll entertain all sort of comments right now. Now, Somesh, I do understand that you live with Shobh, who's a massive South African fan. Have you kind of had early digs with him? Because South Africa, in some form, bro, 4 ODIs that they won on the trot.
Yeah, if only his sleep cycle and my sleep cycle clash, will we find time together? It's more of it almost feels like that this our home is an office. I work in day shifts and he works in night shifts, so that the overlap between our common time is pretty low. But yeah, other than that, really looking forward to this. I have, at the start of the tournament, when I was predicting winners, I had Australia for this game. There's only one game that I've gotten wrong so far, which was South Africa versus Sri Lanka. I just felt that maybe Sri Lanka can upset South Africa. I think I've gone for Australia for this one, but let's see.
Yeah, let's
see. Second game.
Now. Yeah.
Second game wrong with that. Koi one then.
As long as we see
I'll take it happily.
Yeah, we'll take it happily. Now, Nix, I have to ask you about this Ekana Stadium, because what are we going to get in terms of the surface and all of that? And Neural Hacks with us, and good to see you, Santosh Udappa, as well. And we've, of course, done a venue guide, but I'll put out those depictions again about the Ekana. And Nix, you can talk us through it. And do you think it'll be that typical spin, low and slow surface, or do we expect something else today?
Yeah, so whatever we were able to hear from the pitch report from Hayden and Samuel Badri, it looks like a red soil wicket. So good, consistent bounce is what you expect there. And help for pacers should stay because there's a lot of grass, but there is also patchy. So we'll have to wait and see how it pans out. Expecting runs to be scored, but not too many. But again, reading pitches as easy as reading anything that there is to in life. So hopefully a good surface, something for everyone, so that the game has a consistent run right from start till the end.
Remember, South Africa and Australia did meet each other in a 5-match ODI series, which was absolutely brilliant. South Africa coming back to win that 3-2. But Som, I want to ask you generally, right? Australia did lose their opening contest to India. Is it already time to make some changes, or not really?
I don't think so. I think that's the best 11 that Australia fielded. Would be interested to see if Stoinis is fit enough to play, because maybe swapping him and Green can be useful on this wicket. Of course, we don't know right now, will it behave like the typical Lucknow wicket, but we've seen enough to know that it'll definitely, it'll be a miracle if this is as flat a wicket as we've seen Delhi. Because yeah, we've seen ODIs, whatever games we've seen in Lucknow at the international level, where have been, a T20 there, 120 is the par score. Even in the IPL, we saw that at times the home team struggled to chase down even 130. So, kitna hi change kar lenge wicket? They'll have to relay the entire surface to ensure that it turns out to be as flat as Delhi. Maybe what can happen is, if they improve it, a Lucknow wicket can start behaving like how a typical Chennai wicket behaves. So maybe utna improvement aa sakta hai. But even then, even on proper Chennai wicket in the last game, probably Stoinis as a bowler with his cutters and all would have been a lot more effective than Cam Green.
Vidit Damele getting into the chat saying how the new pitch will behave is a bigger mystery than how Dhoni made Patinana bowl well in the IPL. Digs already. And curators have said this is a batting pitch. I know it's kind of short boundary somewhere. I think Pat Cummins has won the toss. And Australia, what are they deciding to do?
Bowl.
1 second. Bowl first. So does that work well automatically? Is a toss a huge advantage here, Nick?
I don't think anybody has any clue on the wicket. It is going to be a mystery only. Probably Australia. Again, I have a theory where I feel Australia they batted first in Chennai, assuming it will be dry, but they found batting a lot more harder in the daytime because there is natural wear and tear, and it gets better to bat usually in most other venues across the country. So I'm of course we'll hear the captain coach and maybe that is the logic that they want to have a score in front of them, and then you go about UH is better placed to chase it down. So I think that could be a fall or a fail safe way to go about it. Okay, bhai, you're not out of the game too early. So very keen to see how that happens because it brings South Africa spinners also into the game if it is slow. But if it is not, then let's see because again there are a lot of numbers to read, but we'll get to them in the later part of the discussion.
So I think this is a blessing in disguise, you feel, for South Africa because they've been brilliant with the bat. We saw what they did against Sri Lanka and Delhi. We saw what they did against Australia themselves in that series at home. And their top three are looking good. And Klaasen, of course, loves Australia. So do you think another big South African score is coming our way?
See, I think South Africa would not have minded either way. Even I think their spin attack is far more impressive than Australia's. So even if they had been bowling first, the spinners would have been in the game a lot more. If there is any, you know, due at all that is going to come. But now that they're batting first, if the wicket remains good, or I mean, now they want that the wicket slows down as the game progresses
Yeah.
because that means that they will bat in a better batting conditions, and maybe can just score the above par total, which will be very difficult for Australia to then chase.
Okay, we'll of course show you some key battles, we'll tell you about some trivia, and we'll of course pick our X factors and not forget our predictions along the way in this preview. But first and foremost, some sumptuous stats in cricket.com, which is always available on the app and the website. Somesh did mention spinners, and one man will of course be focused on Nikhil is Adam Zampa. I mean, he goes on to show the leading tweaker, most wickets for spinners, and all of that. But his 2023 form is a little of a cause for concern.
Yeah, and also his numbers against South Africa aren't that great or something that he'll want to correct. So very keen to see how they play him. I think the thing with Zampa is also how they use him. I feel Pat Cummins, just like many other captains, is very waiting. Let's wait. But it will not work out always. If Maxwell is able to exert more control versus right-handers, there is an obvious sign of worry there that you're not using Zampa well. And again, it's one thing to try and make things happen, but you have to get people early into the game. Rashid Khan yesterday came on when Rohit had already got 88. He still ended up taking 2 wickets. So it's just at times surprising that how they don't use people better. But this could be a very good game for Zampa to come back because, as Som said, if Australia lose this one, there is a lot to then catch up to in the coming games.
Okay, remember one change for South Africa then, and what do you make of it? It's the inevitable change. Shamsi coming in for Kotsi. Would you have done the same if you were South Africa, Som?
Of course, definitely. Although both Maharaj and Shamsi have played a game each at this venue, both had contrasting days. Maharaj did pretty well, but Shamsi got belted. But having said that, this is a wicket where if you won't play a proper spin attack, then what's the point of carrying an extra spinner in the squad? So yeah, it had to happen. It's an obvious one, in my opinion.
Okay, super. Let me just tell you the Australian team changes as well. Nick's and the viewers joining us right now because Stoinis is back in place of Green and Josh Inglis comes in for Alex Carey. Now, Alex Carey, I think I read a stat in the cricket.com South Africa Australia preview where in the last 22 ODI innings, he just has managed to get 150. So are they already kind of going to go the Inglis way?
Yeah, I think one thing that definitely I want to ask Som also is now there is no left-hander. They are all righties, apart from Warner up top, who again loves to bat right-handed as well. So easier for Maharaj to bowl, easier for Samshi to line them up. But again, they add a lot of value, but a lot of small bits there as well. That Maxwell has struggled against South Africa, averaging in tens, versus them, and lot of single digit scores, lot of trouble versus not lot of trouble, but some trouble versus Shamshi. So you need reinforcements there. And but again, I said this in the previous well, it is Australia's middle order that will decide the game because you compare it with South Africa, they are red hot form, but Australia have to find a way to make Maxwell, Stoinis, and Labuschagne score a lot of runs. And a lot of runs has to be emphasized because Marnus always gives you those 25-30s. But here it's not about the 25-30s. You need a very good 70-80. Again, depending on how they start, but that middle order has to start performing. So English getting a game is not surprising, but he'll have to hit the ground running very early.
Absolutely. In a World Cup tournament, it's always like that. By the way, Somesh is surrounded by birds. No sort of cheeky references over there. Crows, parakeets, I'm guessing, in the beautiful Jai Mahal that he lives in. But speaking of Maxwell, Nicks, this is another fascinating stat because he has been going through a lean patch. It's last 6 international innings, nothing to really write home about. And then you kind of peer to the other main man in the Australian squad, and Steve Smith. And the most ODI runs for Steve Smith against an opponent, South Africa does feature third in that list. So hopefully, from an Australian perspective, Smith comes to the party. We'll, of course, feature some more great stats right now. But what I want to ask these boys next is, of course, a few key battles. And so Somesh just gone for a cheeky one to get his matchups right. So, talk to me about the key battles, especially in this first innings. Do you think they can create some early inroads, Australia? Because they did exactly that against India. And he's done a good key run.
Nice. We have Paji in the comments as well.
Great.
Shabash.
So now the point regarding Alex Carey. Now Alex Carey was giving an illusion of being a left-hander. His numbers against slow left-arm bowler were anyway compared to a lot of right-handers who struggle against that kind of bowling. Australia are already, even with Carey in the 11, Australia were a team who averaged the least against slow left-arm bowlers in the past 2-3 years. So that concern still remains. In terms of key battles, I think this game will be decided by how the Aussie batters play spin. I mean, it's an obvious one, but I feel it's going to be about Glenn Maxwell because, like, no, we've often seen Rohit do this in tricky test pitches where others seem like batting on a different wicket, and he himself is like batting on different wicket, especially against spin. We saw that in a test in Chennai and a venue in, I think it was Nagpur against Australia as well. So I think Maxwell will have to produce something similar on a tricky wicket. He'll have to be the person to create that difference and belt South Africa spin to ensure that Australia total is at least above par, if not beyond the reach of South Africa.
Yeah, there's going to be scoreboard pressure for sure for Maxwell when he, of course, takes to the field later. But Nicks, in the first innings, do you think the Pacers, like I said, can create inroads, or do you think Zampa could really find his mojo in this one?
See, I think the biggest battle will be with Josh Hazelwood and Quinton right up top. He's dismissed him 7 times, and Quinton is the kind of guy who wants to set the tone very early. So if Josh is able to take a wickets, and a lot of Josh Hazelwood wickets in the recent times have come while defending the score, so that he's able to use that same movement and underlies the ball does a bit more. So I feel that battle will be very very critical. So Zampa definitely comes into the picture, but again, they don't use Zampa as aggressively as I want them to be or expect them to be. So that is critical. If you see, a lot of Australia's focus right now will be okay. You need Maxwell to take wickets because he's your second spinner. Zampa is not in the best of form. Cummins has to come good. When you will able to Cummins is a kind of guy that you feel oh, he'll always do well with the new ball, or he can do well in the middle overs. But that breakthrough or captain leading performance hasn't come through as of now. So today could be a good day for Cummins to step up versus that middle order. because they'll have to get their tactics right. Even the last game we saw, okay, Stark only bowled three in his first spell, I think, or four. So it's a lot lesser spell for him because that is where he's best at. He's getting the new ball to move, use him up top, get him to run through sides. So I think Josh Hazelwood will be very, very critical from Australia's POV. And again, I think the one thing that I'm very keen to see from South Africa right through this World Cup is they have very good six batters. But how do you pace your innings while batting first? It's easier to do that on a flat batting deck where you think, okay, you don't have to take a lot of risk. But as Home said, if the Lucknow's traditional pattern does come to the fore, kids holding a bit, then you can't lose a lot of wickets. So does it stop them or does it make them go even harder? So that is something that I'm very keen to see in terms of pacing their battles because that could help them counter a lot of matchups from Australia.
Okay, so I just want to ask you how it'll actually play out in the first 10 overs of this match because it's a brand new deck. Obviously, this pitch hasn't been used yet in the campaign, and by all the reports, it's green. So, do you think that's the reason why Cummins has opted to bowl first, or do you think because they batted first against India, they wanted to try a different modus operandi today?
Two things. Of course, if the surface is looking green, Cummins would want to make first use of it because in Indian conditions, even if the wicket is green, it's not going to stay green throughout. It's going to be, if there is going to be any purchase, it's going to be with the new ball or with the very new ball because this ball will remain new for quite some time. Second thing is an expectation of dew. Like I said, I mean, we are almost in the middle of October now, so the temperatures are going to start cooling up. So two factors combined, they he went into chase. Also, if there is dew, it just neutralizes South Africa's spinners. So, in terms of proportion, it's two versus one. One being if the wicket slows down. That is the only drawback of chasing. So, but there are two things that actually work in the favor of chasing. So, probably that is the calculation that Cummins would have done.
Okay, let's show you some more stats and numbers then, because I know this is Australia in terms of their explosive start, and they're not going to be batting first here today. But it just makes you think how South Africa will go against them, especially their middle order. And Markram's been fantastic as well. In fact, speaking of Aiden Markram, he's just been having a year to remember. We remember that recent 100, the World Cup breaking 100, and it just continues for him. So from his perspective, from a South African perspective, there's lots to like and lots to love. Right, let's see if Markram or any of the players that these boys have mentioned feature in their X factors in this one. कौन है X Factor आज के लिए दोनों भाई? Tell me, talk to me. Who's going to be? Maxwell, I'm guessing. I think I'll just be Shamsi, man. I'm going to stick safe because he's done well against Australia. Nikhil, do you echo those thoughts or do you have something up your sleeve?
I feel Janssen could be a very crucial player for South Africa today. Again, if again a lot of this will rely on the pitch and expecting it to behave good right through, because Janssen is a guy they rely to get those hits down the order. I wanted to feel the same for Maharaj and Samji, but you don't know. It's a very big unknown. So you can't just really pick on Maharaj because both have decent records. Maharaj, while bowling second, I think has taken all of his 9 wickets versus Australia while bowling second. So that could be a very, very good thing to keep an eye on. And there are a lot of righties, that we discussed earlier. So he could come into the picture, but Janssen with the new ball, he did that in the previous encounter as well. You expect some movement early, at least with the new ball. And the numbers for Warner against Janssen are also something to look at. Okay, average in low tens there. So that could be very, very handy. And Mitch Marsh, we know how he likes to play. So if Janssen is able to strike early, then that will set the tone. It will ease the pressure on Rabada to be the only guy to take the onus on himself. So I think Janssen for South Africa, and for Australia, I think Josh Hazelwood. We talked about him enough, so I just feel I'll stick to Josh Hazelwood being a very crucial bowler for Australia today.
I like those picks. Before I get to Somesh's X Factors right now, all you lovely people are watching, like Karo. I'm not going to go ahead with the show. I'm actually going to just sit here with that. Like karo, please. We are, of course, on a road to, of course, get a lot of likes and subscriptions. Meanwhile, Gurkirat, always good to see you, whether it's in actual flesh or in the comments in this regard. X factor for him, he says, Som, his Stoinis, his bowling could be handy here if the pitch becomes better to bat on in the second half. His batting could also be handy. In fact, Santosh Udapar going on to support Gurkirat, saying Stoinis, knowing Lucknow ground better, got him the nod over Green. So, is it Marcus Stoinis for you as an X factor? Are you going elsewhere, Somesh Agarwal? Now the Gurkirat classic. The
Yeah,
face he made.
I'm not used to being on mute, so that's why.
Go on.
Yeah. So from an Australian lens, actually, I'm a little stuck between two players. One of them is Adam Zampa. Now, we've always spoken about Zampa and how improved a bowler he is, how with not a lot of variations he has been able to compete at this level. But I mean, he did not have a very good last game. This is a wicket which is tailor made for spin. Now, if not now, then when? So I think if Zampa has to, pick up, be that person that everyone expects him to be, or everyone, the spark that has been seen by everyone. I mean, this is the occasion where he needs to shine. So I think for Australia, I just to pick two X factors, both from Australia, one from first innings and one from second. First innings, it has to be Zampa. Zampa has to deliver today. I mean, there is absolutely Australia cannot afford Zampa to have an off day. Second is I'm interested to see how Steve Smith bats in the second innings. Uh, in the first game, he started off really well. He looked really positive against pace. But when spin came on and he was batting with Labuschagne, I felt Australia got a bit stuck there and could not really get on the bowlers. But today, since they'd be chasing, he'd know what needs to be done. So probably I'm expecting that Steve Smith should be able to stick around so that Maxwell can do his thing and provide the punch that is needed to cross the line.
Okay, super. Lots of people in the chat. Love to see that. Sunny P won a century loading. He says Zampa 4 for coming. There are lots of other people saying Stark could be a differentiator. Klaasen could be a differentiator. So keep your thoughts coming in, and it's always good to see that. Right. Time for some trivia then before we wrap up proceedings and take some questions towards the fag end of the show, because we always love bringing you this segment. Right, it's Did You Know, and it's trivia time on cricket.com. Now, it is a simple one. Did you know, guys, wait for it, South Africa is the only team that has more wins than losses in ODIs against Australia. You look at the record over there, and normally we look at Australia and they're like, oh my God, they've just been ODI champs throughout the years. Does this have any bearing, Nikhil, on the game today or not really? This is history.
Yeah, it's history with a number to add later today. That's how I'll want to put it. And it could be in any which it could be in winning, could be in loss, but I'll hope that it's in a win.
Yeah, because you look at even their World Cup record, I think South Africa just have a slender advantage. They beat Australia in the 1992 World Cup, thanks to Keppel Wessels and all of them. 99, we know the story. And then, of course, 2007, they got hammered in the West Indies, the South African boys, that is. And then 2019, as you know, the results were there to see. Before I get to Somesh and his thoughts, go on. Go on.
Yeah, just to add to this trivia, actually, Australia have never beaten South Africa in an ODI in India.
Oh, okay.
They've lost
How many
all
times?
three.
Are we talking about the Titan Cup and stuff? Good old Titan Cup?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact dates. I just happen to know this trivia.
Okay, fair enough. Now, speaking of both the teams, let's just show you the points table right now, and I'll get that particular banner out of the way so you guys can see it through and through. There it is, honestly, because I know it's still early days, and South Africa and Australia, after they finish their quota of games today, who knows how they'll kind of go about it. Will South Africa join India, Pakistan, New Zealand on 4 points, or will Australia have something to say in this afternoon game? Right. We have to, of course, address some of the comments coming through, which is always fun to know. And we'll take a couple of questions as well, without a shadow of a doubt. Pranav, I'm going to just say South Africa has more wins against losses. Absolutely. We just showed you that. Introspect, it is mouth-watering, without a shadow of a doubt. And Anand, even we're expecting the repeat of the 99 semi-final. So much so, I've got the Australia yellow on the right, and I've got the South Africa green on the left, and who knows who's going to win this one. But let's take some questions right now coming through. And who do I start with? Rahul Bhai randomly saying who will be the MVP from these two sides if you have to pick one for the campaign, I'm guessing.
Campaign, I think we already talked about Maxwell being one, because again the role that he's going to play, the second spinner, and the guy who's going to be the floater between the top four who are going to bat traditionally and the lower half who are going to go Jai Mata Di. So he is the guy they'll rely on to come good in most games, and that's what you get with most all rounders.
Is there an MVP from these two sides? Because David Warner comes to mind, Mitch Stark comes to mind, Som. So do you think it's the usual candidates?
If you have to play safe, I think Maxwell, because he'll contribute with both bat and ball. So especially from a fantasy perspective, I think Maxwell should be the one.
Okay, Maxwell will definitely be the one from an RCB perspective, that is. Noodleax with Vasant asking you, boys, do you think Stoinis will come? He's played in Lucknow, he's in the team, but do you think it makes all the more sense just because he plays for that IPL franchise in this venue? Is that the thinking? Why he's got a selection over Green, Nikhil?
See, from what I read, Green was supposed to rest only because of the burnout issues that they felt could come through, and they wanted to manage his workload. And because Stoinis wasn't fit in the first game, that's why Green came into the side. So I think with them also, the priority was always very clear that if Stoinis was fit, he was going to be the guy who plays there. And again, फिर Stoinis के बारे में ज़्यादा कुछ बोलना नहीं. He'll again put up a video and do. So I'm happy. I'm happy being on his side.
Okay, Santosh Shirappa going on to ask, is there an entry point for Maxwell Som? Because obviously it'll be a chasing night tonight for Australia, especially if they were batting first. And give me both concepts. Where would you like to see Maxwell bat? 30th over, earlier, after that?
See, for me, if Australia happen to chase anything above 270, 280, they need to split Smith and Labuschagne. Labuschagne at 5 will be at touch too low. I understand that, but them batting together can also lead to other issues of them getting stuck. So if they're chasing anything above 275, let's say, I think Maxwell should bat at 4. And if they're chasing under 250, then I'm okay with Maxwell even coming at 5 because asking rate would not be that big of a worry.
270. So let's just get the predictions from the gentlemen right now. You guys have not been getting your predictions right. I know Som went for like underwhelming 160 for India Afghanistan, but they ended up getting 272. So Som, I'll give you a chance to make up for it today. What are you going for? 270 again or 300 plus?
I'm going with 280.
280. Okay.
280, yeah, whatever it is.
Okay.
That is
Next,
the
what about you?
I'm still hoping for VVS to come through in 280. So again, because South Africa is batting, I'll trust the pitch report. It's a good batting deck. So please get 303.
Yeah, I would say in excess of 300 as well, because South Africa in the last 4 ODIs have just not got anything below 300. So I think that will definitely come to fruition. And Paras, we all remember our childhood memory. Yes, if we get 434 today, nothing like it. Yeah, it'll be just a day out for not just the people in Lucknow, but all the Nawabs and Kebabs lovers over there indeed. And there's some other fun ones which I should definitely take. So Mori going on to say, want to see Babuma and Jansen batting together. It's almost like, Bade Mia, Chote Mia. Love the little Lucknow reference again over there. And finally, lots of other comments which we can't take. So Mori is actually saying 375 for 7. Oh my word. Oh my word. Is there a favorite going into this game? Because Pranam Anand, honestly, asking a good question. Who starts favorites? Is it South Africa because they just dismantled Sri Lanka?
Actually, this is the reason I ran and brought my notebook to see which team I actually went with ahead of the tournament. And this is a list I made before the tournament even began. Actually, I have South Africa just because it's in Lucknow and they have a better spin attack and all that. But I feel Australia can still, surprise and win this one. If they, 375 plus, so I think it's a gone case. If it's under 270 or something, Australia can still fancy and chase it down. Although, cricket है कुछ भी हो सकता है. 375 बन के भी Australia chase कर सकते हैं, and even with 260 they might end up bottling it. But yeah, I think my pick today would be South Africa's favorite, given their superior spin attack and their superior batting against spin. So on both fronts, they on the conditions they are the more dominant team. But yeah, with Australia you can never rule anything out.
And the fact that Nick's mentioned that there's not a single lefty, at least in that top six or whatever, till you get to Stark for Australia, which is absolutely ridiculous. Sunny P, meanwhile, saying 310, Interspec saying 375, 325, beg your pardon. So it's going to be a high scoring game, and hopefully, we'll, of course, have lots to talk about in the post match review, which will be done by three of us again. So join us then and like this video, of course. That's all we have time for in this match preview because the national anthems are done and we're going to be witnessing the first ball. Who knows what's going to happen? It's going to be a riveting one. And Sohangi, good to see you. Avnish, wear your Australian jersey. Support them with me and invite me to your personal watch along. Behave, Sohangi, behave. We can't entertain those comments, but it's made a few guys chuckle, and it's all that matters on cricket.com. Thanks for watching this one. There's more to come. Subscribe to cricket.com, of course, and like this video. There's so much great content. Yesterday, you guys should check out their review of the India-Afghanistan game. Somesh loved it because his beloved Rohit Sharma got his 7th World Cup done, and you can check out his reactions on the Hitman's century against Afghanistan in that review. Speaking of review, join us later. Until the next time, so goodbye from Nikhil, Somesh, the birds, and me as well.
Cheers.
Bye.